All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Got Lisa Haas here again today, and we are going over marketing funnels. Last time we did the persona, and that's your avatar of your specific drilled down person that you're going after, very detailed. And now we want to look at marketing funnels and in a evergreen way, which I just learned was something you can use at any time. So thanks for helping me with that, Lisa.
Hey, you got it.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm loving life. I'm just getting ready to teach a new class here soon on digital marketing strategy at one of the local colleges. So I'm been prepping all day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So you're talking about marketing funnels, and you mentioned having 3 areas of those marketing funnels, and these are things we're going to be able to use in various different instances, not just a one-off. Is that correct?
Yeah, so really it's more about a foundational overview of what a marketing funnel is and the 3 basic components of a good marketing funnel.
Okay.
Um, in a high level overview, a marketing funnel can be as easy as a 4-part email series that you're nurturing those individuals that you work with or want to work with. This is going to be a little higher level view. So I'm going to share sort of the 3 stages that a buyer goes through when it comes to your brand and how they move through that decision-making process. And the reason they call it a funnel is it's super wide at the very top, where you can put lots and lots of different people into it. So as you're going after those different personas and individual ideal clients that you're looking for, you put as many into that top funnel as possible. And then as they move their way through your funnel, the content that you're providing, the tactics and your strategies you're using, they squeeze down until eventually they come out the bottom of the funnel, hopefully spending some money with you.
Of course.
So this is kind of a big visionary, but then you can take it down into minutia. You can take it down into this. I'm going to use an email series for this funnel, or lots of different ways to play. So let's just talk first about what is a funnel, and then talk about the 3 major areas of a good funnel. And then we'll talk about some tactics that can go into each one of those. So
Great.
first, when you start with your ideal client description, your persona, your avatar for Shopping Sally, and you really know who Shopping Sally is and that she's someone that you want to bring into your organization, the first area that she goes through is called awareness. She needs to be aware of the brand, right? So in this stage of the top funnel, a marketing organization or a company is going to go into a place where they're going to place themselves where the individuals can discover the brand. This is one of the P's of marketing of place. There's product, price, place, and promotion. So knowing where your audience is at, you go there and you make noise, right? You go to the town square and make noise. That's how you get attention. So by creating awareness around the brand, you want to make sure you're providing content that sets you apart, makes you different, even just gets general awareness. This is where a number of different tactics will come into play, and I'll come back to those once I've talked about all 3. So awareness, people just becoming aware of you. The second stage of the funnel, where it gets a little narrower, you may have some people that drop out or leak out of the funnel that go to the second stage of consideration. So consideration is where I've discovered I have a problem as a buyer. I want to try to solve that problem, and I begin to look around in the marketplace for potential solutions. Now, if I'm aware of your brand, you become a contender in that particular stage of consideration. How much is this problem worth to me? What types of solutions exist in the marketplace? What criteria might I use in making the choice to solve or not solve that problem? This is where salespeople talk a lot about objection handling techniques, right? They're really overcoming people objecting potentially to taking you as the solution. That's all in that consideration phase of the funnel. Then we move to the third side, the third component of the funnel, which is where the decision making happens. So you've got awareness, consideration, and decision. In the decision making process, this is where I have determined I have a problem that I am going to solve. I'm going to use one of those solutions that I discovered in my consideration phase. And now I'm going to go through some comparative criteria. Why would I make this choice of this company or solution over another company or solution? And then ultimately, is it easy for me to move forward and purchase? The purchase stage is simply a yes or no question, right? And oftentimes we kind of get stuck in, oh, I got to get the person to buy. Well, no, we need to walk them through. Are they aware of the brand? Are they considerate of the issues that they're truly having? And is this brand the right decision for that buyer? So the more you know your persona, the more you can align with all those pieces of a funnel.
Right.
Questions?
Nope. Nope. Doing
Okay.
good so far.
Groovy. So let's go back up to awareness. When we think about tactics for awareness, right? My goal as a marketer is to get you to know, like, and trust a brand. So the first thing in the know side of things is I have to be aware of you, plain and simple.
Right.
Tactics that we use to create awareness. This is where advertising comes in, whether that be internet or traditional media. So Google ads, Facebook ads, radio, television, print, whatever it takes to create awareness in front of your marketplace. This is also where things like search engine optimization come into play, making sure your website's got good internal links, where there's good calls to action to move to the next consideration phase.
Right.
Or you have really great external links so that when I go to Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of DuckDuckGo, any of the number of different search engines out there, that when I search either for your brand or for my problem, do you appear? That's where search engine comes in. From a guerrilla side of things, not everybody can afford a radio ad or Google ads. Those can be a little bit expensive.
Right.
From a guerrilla side of things, this is where you go out and shake hands and kiss babies, right? You go do local networking. Public appearances. You may teach free to low cost workshops in the community. It's all about, do people know you and are they aware? So if I walk into an awareness funnel stage with buy right out of the gate, I'm breaking trust. And so many people come to me with, I want to go out there and promote, and they haven't done the due diligence to create the awareness and the consideration phase. They move right to decision, which is where they
Right.
lose a lot of people, right? Because marketing isn't just about a buy message. It's also, do I know what I'm doing? Am I credible? Can I be trusted out here? Do I have longevity
Exactly.
in the marketplace, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of the awareness stage. Questions about awareness?
No, I'm just trying to come up with a appropriate joke for not rushing things, and I couldn't come up with any. They were all inappropriate, so I'm just leaving it there.
Yeah, right. Well, back in my dating days, when the date would show up with a dozen roses for the first time, and can you meet my mom? I immediately was like,
We're
we
done.
are not in that stage right now, buddy. So, if you want to think about it from that kind of an analogy.
Exactly.
Now, the second stage is where we move into consideration. I know you. I'm aware of you. I might have even created some likability, a couple trust factors through showing up and giving in my community as the brand, and as the buyer, I'm like, okay, I know who you are.
Right.
Consideration is really more about what the problem is that you're trying to solve. In the consideration stage, that buyer may be only just discovering that they have a problem that they want to solve, or they might be actively in market looking for it. So when I go back to my Google Analytics that we spoke of, there's in market, and then there's kind of this lookalike audience, that there's a group that's actively seeking, and then there's another group that might be seeking because they're showing some clues that may have that same problem.
Right.
So our job as brands during this stage is to consistently show case studies around, this is a person who may have your story and how we solved it. This is where newsletters, blogs, review platforms, which is some of the stuff that you do at Top Hat, social
Absolutely.
sharing, social proof of testimonial, all of those pieces fall into this consideration stage.
Yep.
Right. So this is that period where you're starting to show people like, hey, if you have a problem, we may have a solution for you. And here's how we've helped others.
It was real interesting yesterday. I was at a forum and they were talking about AI getting so good that they start picking up on cues that people are doing in their life that will match this other event over here that you want them to do. and it happens to be tied in some way most of the time, maybe not all the time, but if you're going along on a map and you like Starbucks and Starbucks pops up on your thing, really easy example, but obviously you can get much more nuanced than that in terms of where people are in their life or their buying process, or even considering that they need something. And
Yeah.
so catching them farther up the food chain before everybody else has gotten their meat hooks into them because they're making obvious signs of wanting to do this, you get farther up the chain and go, okay, this is what someone that is going to want what I do. These are one of their first signs. Finding those things can really be effective. And that was a real interesting thought.
Totally. And that's like the group in the Google is called affinity, right? So we have in market where they're looking, and affinity is where they're starting to show signs where they might also be that way. And you're right. If you can walk in at that affinity level
Right.
without, it's not about a sales message at that moment. It's the creating, do you have this problem? Are you beginning to look for this? Do you see signs of this happening in your life? Have you started to move? Have you started to think about cars? Well, maybe you're going to need seat covers, and, starting to kind of layer over the top of that. Now, in terms of our AI right now, our AI is a little dumb. At least that's my personal opinion and observation. I think about it
Right.
like, here's a great analogy. When I put on Spotify or, Pandora, one of the music stations, right? And I listen to a lot of Bob Dylan. Well, it tries to predict, because I like Bob Dylan, I must like these other 5 artists. And then
Right.
it gets stuck with, I must only like Bob Dylan, and it forgets that I also maybe like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and I'm going to throw some Adele on you and some Beyonce too. Now I've got the AI all confused. Right? And so
Exactly.
they're getting better. They're writing the data science around that. The tools that they're using are getting better at creative predictive. Now, one word of caution, though, as we move more towards this AI predictive feeding of messages, content, marketing to us, we could also have the potential to get really myopic and not realize that there are other solutions.
Oh, gee,
Brain
that
cell,
sounds familiar.
it does. This isn't a new problem. This is something we've known about for a while.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we want to do in consideration stage, I call it pattern interrupt, that everyone else sounds the same way. If you can sound different during that period and maybe expand one's thinking about the problem that they're experiencing, the solutions that could potentially be there, you may create enough of a unique proposition to stand out when they move into the third stage.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So let's go to that third stage, which is decision making. Any questions about consideration?
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I really like the pattern interrupt because you've got to, different is better than better. Uh, I've heard quite a bit. And so being different can really help you.
And use everything you have. All the PR classes that I've ever had have said things like, if you're a brunette who wears glasses, use that as a part of one of your unique pitches.
Exactly.
So it's really use everything that you have to create that uniqueness. But I also always like to remind people that people don't really care about you. They care about solving their problem.
Right.
So you want other people, like, especially in consideration, this is where FAQ comes in a lot. What are frequently asked questions about this product or service that I offer? Right. And from there, if you can create unique proposition, pattern interrupt, humor, a little absurdity, we need some of that
Mhm.
in today's world, because we're
Oh,
inundated with, over 1 million messages a day in the world of marketing.
absolutely. We use drops for laundry. And I don't know if you've ever seen him, but that guy's freaking hilarious. I don't know if he's the CEO, the spokesman, what, but he's in a bathtub naked and tossing the drop in there. He's all these dad jokes and just, oh, it's hilarious.
Right.
And love it. And it aligns with what I want to do. I want to get rid of packaging. I didn't want to use dyes. I didn't want to do any of this other stuff. So that was the content that really worked for me. But this just added to it. This was the pattern interrupt that made me go, you're just freaking hilarious.
Right. Which goes into likability. If I have to know, like, and trust you,
Yep.
creating great awareness is lovely. Showing your expertise is that you're trustworthy is great. But if you don't come together as an authentic individual, an authentic brand, some sort of authentic spin with your own personalized voice, you're just going to get lost in the noise.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Now, I also, though, I'm going to caution, make sure you're on brand topic too, because I have seen a few people skew off into, oh, gee, they're big fishing people, fishing hobbyists, but they, sell car tires. And it's like, if you're gonna go out there and use some of that uniqueness, it would make sense for a laundry company to be in a bathtub with soap. Those are in alignment versus standing up on the top of a mountain going, yay,
Right.
Those aren't in alignment. So if you're going to be unique and quirky like that, make sure that there's brand alignment in there.
There you go.
Like the Flo insurance lady, right? We all know who Flo is and what she's selling. Though she's a little wacky.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so we move into this last phase, which is decision making. And decision making is literally just a decision making process that your buyers will go through that comparatively looks at the options on the table and goes through their own process of what is going to seem like the right choice for me. Now, I was in sales for about a decade and consistently heard from sales reps that were new in the industry, oh, it's price. People object to price all the time. Price is actually like the fourth or fifth consideration when it comes to our decision-making process. So if we lead with this is low cost, well, that's all you're ever going to get is low cost. Instead, you want to meet the problem at the door. So if you sell soap for your laundry, as your example is talking about, you're not going to come walking in the door and this is the cheapest laundry detergent that you're ever going to have. Instead, you're going to meet the needs of, we understand that you're earth conscious and that you don't want to use dyes and we want to reduce packaging in the world. And we have that same core value, which is why we're going to be a great solution for you. There's nothing in there about price.
Nope.
Right? So by understanding your persona, you will understand if price is even a consideration for that particular group of people that you're working with that are going through that decision-making process.
Right.
In this stage, people are looking for demos. They're also looking for testimonials. They are going to probably sit down and watch a sales presentation. They're going to share with you some criteria of what they might be using to determine if you're the choice or not. They're going to do a competitive analysis to see there are 4 people in the marketplace. And then from that information, they're going to go ahead and make their choice. Here's a great example. I am in the market right now for a new roof for my home. I've had 3 different individuals come out. First, my awareness stage is I went on to Nextdoor, which is a neighborhood community social network, and said, hey, does anybody know good roofers in the area? I live in a rural community. It's not like I can pull out the phone book and start calling names. So I got recommendations to 3 different people. I called all 3 of them and invited them to come and take a look at my roof and give me an estimate. So at that stage of the game, I went through awareness to try to find some people. Then I moved into consideration, gathering my facts, the things that I needed to know, and I educated myself about roofing materials, price points, labor, removal of the old roof, and what does that look like, timelines, all of the different things that I'm going to need to know in order to make a good choice.
Right.
Then I moved into the decision-making process, and I had 3 people at the table. One was a dude and a truck and a couple of guys who made comments about permitting maybe not being so important, and then maybe that's going to be something I'm going to have to do. I had a second individual that was a high-level brand, well-known brand. I was a little curious about metal and solar. They came out and tried to pitch me this 30-year program for X amount of dollars per month to include solar. And then a third individual who is a person who's in the community, who's done a number of roofs in this community, who's a local provider who's been in business for 30 years, who came and educated me on 3 different options that fit into what my vision is about.
Makes sense.
So if you look at what those 3 people did, they moved me from awareness into consideration and into decision-making. And the one that I picked at the end was the one that I knew, liked, and trusted. My neighbors used him. He gave me all the options and information that I needed to make a really great choice. He knew how the local system works in terms of permitting, etc. And he shared that knowledge with me regularly and willingly so that I knew I could go out and make a really great decision.
Makes sense. So the thing that I'm thinking here, we've sort of looked at it from a persona going through a funnel. So when you're setting up that funnel and you're building that, you're looking at it from the outside in, sort of.
Yeah, you
I
want to
mean,
think
does
about it
that
from the
make
inside.
sense?
Yeah. So if
Uh,
Shopping Sally is your avatar, is your
mhm.
person, where is Shopping Sally going to become aware of me? And when she is aware of me, what problem does she have that I can solve? And how can I
Right,
create the knowledge that she needs to make a really great decision? And then when she's ready to make that decision, be there ready for her to give her the rest of what she needs.
right, right.
Right? I don't know how many times I hear this from people. I don't really like to do email marketing because I hate to get emails. It's not about you. It's does Shopping Sally respond to emails?
Yes, exactly. There's yes. I've had several tools that I've used over the years. I can't stand this thing. This is terrible. I'm going through this as the doctor, not the patient. It's driving me insane. Or the assistant, the technical coordinator. Oh, this is terrible. I hate this. Well, but the patients love it. It's going through this. It's getting them through this step during COVID when they don't have to be in the office doing this part. They feel like they're doing something. They've been trapped indoors for 8 months, and this is working for them. Yeah, but I hate it. I don't care.
Well, it's got nothing to do with about you. It's got everything to do with your buyer, right?
Exactly.
And then I always like to close whenever I'm doing some funnel exercising that there's really one other fourth thing to consider once you've got your funnel in place is that aftercare program once somebody buys. We spend a lot of time getting people to be aware of the brand, move through consideration, get all the decision making criteria in place, and then they say yes and they buy. And we move to the next prospect instead of care and love for the one that just said yes. And even if you only sell a widget one off, that one off can be such an extraordinary experience that you then engage them to go out and share it in the social networks, provide you with a review. Word of mouth testimonial is still absolutely the most powerful marketing tool out here. So if you can
Absolutely.
continue to turn these buyers into these brand ambassadors for you, which is aftercare. Continue to gift to them, continue to give them good tools, continue to sell and upsell programs to them,
Hmm.
and then empower them to go out there and speak highly of your world. You're not, after a couple of years, you're going to discover you don't have to work so hard at getting people into the top of that funnel because your world does it for you.
Exactly. And that's my world. And it's very, very effective. And you said it. You give them the tools to allow them to easily make those decisions to be a brand ambassador. You
Yeah.
give them the QR code to your Google page. You help them with getting onto Facebook. You make all of that easy. You're
Mhm.
not personally handing it to them some of the time. Some of the times you are. Sometimes you're like, here's a QR code. Other
Mhm.
times you're putting it where they can easily find it. And that doesn't happen a lot. So I really like that fourth step because the 1 through 3 I'm not as familiar with. Number 4 is my wheelhouse, and people do not do it 80% of the time. And it's low hanging fruit once you get it built up. You said it, after a couple of years, it's like having residual income.
It truly is. It truly is. I was in a doctor's office a couple days ago doing some traditional, annual stuff. And what I was so impressed with was everywhere I went, there were big signs on all of the walls. Tell us how we're doing with a
Mhm.
QR code, which I find it fascinating. When the QR code first came out, everyone was kind of like, boy, that sure is ugly. And I don't know what it's for. And as a marketer, I'm like, it's going to be at some point, it'll get adopted of the, you're going to click it and it's going to take you to a restaurant menu or the instructions on how to run your refrigerator or where can I buy a repair part. It took a
Exactly.
pandemic to get us to the point where the QR code is now readily available.
I know.
And it's
It
so easy to click up with your phone and then go directly to the place where you can have ambassadorship.
absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you for this. This is I'm sure it's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how in the weeds we can get, but it's a really good overview and gives people a lot of places to start. They can always reach out to you. You're going to be putting this on your Facebook page as well.
Yep.
Where can they reach you if they need to?
Oh, you can always come to my website, Lisa M. Haas. That's 2 A's, 1 S.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under that same name, Lisa Haas. I'm obviously in the Denver area, so you probably want to add a little Denver at the end of that search. But I'm not hard to find. You go out there and do a little Google, you'll find me in no time flat. Plus, you can always follow Top App Creative. I engage with your guys' stuff quite a bit too.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your time again, and looking forward to it next month.
Sounds great, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Take care.